What exactly do you do right to ensure that 10 years on, you can still eat from the same brand?
You need to ensure that this brand is as professional as it can be, and anyone can work with the brand. There are several things that an artist needs to have for you to be commercially viable, or rather for you to be a big brand, let me put it that way. So one, you need to have talent. Number two, you have to be very disciplined as an artist and as an individual. So advantage of being in a label is you don't have to worry where you'll be tomorrow, because there are people who are behind you and pushing your brand.
You can have 1 million streams but earn peanuts. How is streaming money made?
For artists, streaming should not be your only revenue earner. If you fully rely on streaming, then it's a very big mistake you're doing.
Good evening and welcome to the Late Night Business. My name is Ian Dennis, and tonight, as always, we have a very interesting show lined up because you're going to be exploring the music business with a gentleman who's actually been in this particular industry for the last 10 years, and he actually has his experience and accolades to show for it. But before I get to introduce my guest, I want to remind you that you're here at the Capital Club, the place you need to be as an entrepreneur, because as we always see, your network is your net worth, and being part of this particular club exposes you to a huge network of individuals, both in the corporate and business world, not only locally, but also across the world. As always, I also want to remind you that my book, Food for Thought, is actually out. You can actually get it at Nuria stores, and you can also get it at Textbook Center and get to explore some of my thoughts. Literally, I'm not just a host. I have so many things to share, and you can actually get to learn from this. So literally, Food for Thought, it just shares quotes on life and experiences that you can actually get to learn from. So the gentleman I'm actually speaking about, you've actually seen so many of his brands literally take over the airwaves and take over the music scene. I'm speaking about Mr. Dennis Njenga, who's the managing partner and co-founder of Kaka Empire, a leading music label here. They've actually gone into film, and there's so much to explore. Dennis, thank you so much for having come to the show.
Thank you for having me, Dennis.
I was expecting you come with all the trophies. Today we decided to be very simple.
You should have told me when I did that.
Recently awarded to 40 under 40 to 40 in Africa. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you so much.
How does it feel that finally, before you've gotten all these things?
It feels nice. I've been doing this for the last 13 years. And the thing I tell people is, as managers or people behind brands, we don't get enough recognition. So when you're recognized for the work you've done, you feel proud of yourself.
Interesting. Yeah. To start off the conversation, the first question I like asking, what exactly are you most grateful for today?
Today, I was having a conversation with someone who was telling me I am at a place where I know what I want in life. So there is some sense of peace and happiness. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for having that peace and happiness that I have. Yeah.
What exactly is it that you want? Out of curiosity.
I'm a simple guy. I just want happiness, peace. How to define that is, as long as I have friends around, I can talk to, people I can mentor, who look up to me, family who keep joy within myself and my heart every single day, I'm good.
Interesting. Just going through your profile and your earlier beginnings, you grew up in, in humble beginnings.
Yep.
Maybe you can just take us through your journey. Where did you grow up? How exactly how did that particular, growing up where you did, how did it have an influence to who you are today? Because I always know there's always some sense of semblance.
Yeah, so I grew up in Eastlands. I grew up in a place called Pumwani. You know Pumwani Hospital?
Yes, Pumu.
Yeah, Pumu. So my mom was a midwife. She used to assist mothers give birth. And she was working at Pumwani. So we used to live in the servants' quarters in Pumwani maternity. So I grew up in that area. Pumwani, Majengo, California, and Eastlands itself, which is. I went both to primary school and high school in Eastlands. So I was at a school called Rescos Primary. Then I went to Eastlands Boys.
So you just around Mtatu?
Around Mtatu, yeah. But I spent like 2 years at Eastlands Boys, and then I think my dad saw the environment was not very good for me. Akaniambia niende Ushago, so I was taken back to some school very far in Kinango. And then
what is that doing?
My dad was a businessman. He used to own a printing company. He used to do a bit of fleet management for cars and matatus at some point.
Fleet management?
Yes.
What's that?
Fleet
Fleet
management.
management.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
fleet
yes,
management.
Yes.
Ah, and so you've said your mom was midwife,
Yep.
and your dad was in business.
Yep.
What are some of the lessons that you learned from your parents that, when you look back in retrospect, that actually enabled you to be where you are today?
Most of the inspiration comes from my father. I used to look up to him a lot. Every morning when he used to wake up to prepare for work, nilikuwa nakaa chini and look at what he's doing. He used to have an afro, so he used to comb his hair. Yeah. At some point, by the way, so sold insurance, so he used to dress well. He used to have a briefcase. So I used to say, one day I'm going to be like this guy. And I think he has a lot of influence in my life today, comparing to how I carry myself, I do my things. At some point in my life, I've also done insurance. So, yeah, I think my dad was big. My mom was a kind, good-hearted person. People used to come to our house all the time for advice, to just sit and talk to her. So, yeah, so that's what I got from my parents.
Interesting. And what any kind of aspirations you had when you were growing up? So because you said dad was actually a big influence to you in terms of what exactly he was doing in terms of business. You yourself, what kind of aspirations did you have by that particular point?
So the funniest thing is, I had promised my mother I'm going to be a physiotherapist.
Why?
I was just.
How did you know about physiotherapy growing up?
I think I visited a hospital once and I saw a signage written physiotherapy. And asked my mom what's this, and he told me this is all about bones and muscles and all that. So I said, I want to be that. I want to be that. So I started, learning more about what happens, the human body and all that. So I kept that promise. So one day, I'm going to be this person, and you're going to go to see me doing this. So we used to do rounds, or rather, when he used to do rounds in hospital of his colleagues and friends, he used to introduce me to other physiotherapists. Tell me how this boy wants to become like you one day. Yeah. But I guess life teaches you different things. Now I'm in entertainment.
And then after going to Kinangop, I believe that's where I did your high school.
Yep.
So you went to campus. What did you study?
I studied business administration at St. Paul's. Yeah. Yeah. Then now I went into business.
But before business, I know you also had some stint also in the corporate world.
Yep.
Yeah. So I saw sometimes, I think from your profile, you sold insurance at one particular point in time.
Yep.
What kind of jobs you had after campus?
So my life was a bit disrupted at some point. So what happened is I lost my mom when I was 13, then I lost my dad when I was 15. I am a fourth born in the family of 5, so I have 3 older siblings which are girls, and then I have a younger brother who passed away 2 years ago. Rest in peace. Yeah. So I was first male in the family. Yeah. So the things I had to do that no one else could do. So at the age of 15, I dropped out of school. So I think I was in Form 2. Yeah. Form 2 or going to Form 3. I dropped out of school, so I started working.
At 15?
At 15, yeah. So we were living in a place called Kimende. It's on
Kimende, I know, yeah. The cold place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was doing very odd jobs. So I was carrying sacks of gunias in the market. I was doing washing bars and lodges. Just
at 15?
At 15. Yeah.
To fend for the family now?
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
By that time, my dad had not passed away. He was very unwell. He had meningitis, so it had really eaten him up. So my whole year at 15 was very hard because I had to feed my dad, feed the other guys. My small bro was still in primary school. Luckily, that time Kibaki had introduced free primary school, so he was able to go. And I remember I stayed for close to 2 years without going to school, just doing that. And then luckily enough, I have an older sister who lives in abroad. So she came and asked me, what do you want? Do you want me to start a business for you? Do you want me to, what help do you need? I just told him I need to go back to school. So I remember he gave me some money, told me go look for a school. So I went to the nearest school, which was Kimende High School. Yeah. And I had to repeat classes. So I went back to Form 2. And that's now how I finished my high school. And the good thing is there were bursaries and scholarships that there's a company there called Kabasit. It normally mines carbon dioxide. It's to give bursaries to kids who are doing very well. So I ensure that I'm always in the top 3 in every stream.
So I could get the
scholarship. Exactly.
And how pivotal was that particular period when you look back in retrospect? Because it was just 15, you've lost all your parents, you literally have to stand in the gap of your parents. When you look back in retrospect, how was that particular period? How did it shape you?
So I normally tell guys, I think I jumped a space in a stage in my life because I had to mature in a very young age. Working at that age, fighting for my family, looking for things to do, looking for jobs. So I had to learn how to live life at a very young age. So I think it has had a very big impact to who I am today. Because if you look at people at my age, rather in my 20s when I was talking to my peers, when I was working them, they were in school. When I was trying to get back to campus, they're out having fun with their life. So I feel there's a stage in my life I passed, but it is good because it really shaped the way I looked at life. I look at life today. If I didn't go through what I went through then, I don't know if I'll be here today. Yeah.
Having gone through that particular period, because I know it's not quite an easy period. So you went to campus, after going through campus, what are some of the earlier jobs that you also got yourself into?
So I went to campus while I was working. What happened is I got employed when I was 19. In my official corporate job, I got employed at NIC Bank. These days it's NCBA Bank. Yeah. And I was employed as a salesman. So I used to sell.
So it's bank accounts.
Accounts, credit cards, loans. So that was my job. So I worked there for 4 years, and then I got poached by a colleague of, or rather a mentor of mine, and his name is Ezekiel Ward. He used to be the general manager at Sanlam then. It was called Pan Africa Life, now Sanlam, as a unit manager. So now from management, from just being a salesman now to doing something in insurance. And that's how my corporate life was structured.
There's always something about people in insurance. Yeah. You always say people in insurance are people who have actually mastered sales. Yeah. So how was your stint as an insurance salesperson? How exactly, or what are some of the things around sales that you learned at that particular point?
So let me take you back to banking. Then now I can tell you about
insurance.
So, yes. So banking. Remember, I'm 19. I've never done any corporate job. I'm told now you need to go start talking about money and how to save and tell guys about bank accounts.
And you don't look it.
I don't know. So I had to learn. The good thing is, so we had two categories of employees, new employees who came in. So there were guys who came from, then Barclays was big. So there was a lot of salespeople post from Barclays to come and join the sales force at NIC Bank. And then now there are now fresh guys out of maybe campus, school and campus who joined banking. So what I did, I paired myself with someone who's done sales before, and that person used to sell credit cards. Me, I used to sell accounts. So when we attack a client, that's the word we used to use. Him introduces credit cards, me introduce an account, because they have to go hand together, hand in hand. So what used to happen, and it actually sort of cemented my experience in sales, is we used to have a boss by that he's called Meshach Miyogo. He's now the general manager at Sales Insurance. So Meshach used to put us in a van, all of you, or nyinyi watu wote wa sales ingieni hapa ndani, get into a van. He takes you to, by that, let's say Riverside Drive or Lavington. There are no matatus by then, those sides. Matatus are only plying the main roads. He drops you somewhere on the road, tells you from here to that point, go knock in every door. I want you back in the office at 4. That is at 7:30 in the morning. Wow. So you walk. So that taught you endurance. That taught you persistence. That taught you how to...
So doing door to door.
Door to door.
And trying to talk to everybody, try to have them open accounts.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, so that sort of taught us how to become salespeople. So within 3 months of doing that repeatedly every single day of the week, so 5 days in a week, Monday to Friday, by the time it was 3 months, we were pros. We knew, I could look at you and tell you, you are a joke. I can't give you anything. So I won't waste time with you as a client. Let me go to the next person. So I can say I did very well at NIC Bank. I think I became one of the top sales people there. Got a lot of awards. I was given an opportunity to also lead a team. So I became a team leader. So a team was comprising of between 15 to about 20 team members. So I had my own sales team to do the same. And that's now where Pan Africa noticed what I was doing, and Ezekiel Ward poached me from banking now to insurance. Yeah. Insurance, when I went to Pan Africa, is because of the type of clients I was dealing with. I was dealing with high clientele clients. So we formed a unit or the plan called Premier. So we used to target clients who can save premiums from between, I think, 10 to 50,000 a month comfortably. Yeah. And that was our main job. So we had a whole, I was a branch manager. So I had a whole, so a branch comprises of several teams, team leaders who have other team members within. So that's the structure. Yeah. And
through that particular experience, what did you learn about sales? Because I know sales in any particular business is the most important thing. What did you learn about sales?
Sales is like preaching. You see those preachers you meet on the road?
They're the best preachers.
Yes. Wakikwambia Yesu wanakuja kesho, lazima uokoke. And you look at this guy wondering, why is this guy shouting with a speaker and a microphone? So sales is like that. Insurance, you are selling a promise. I'm telling you, if your child gets to the age of 13, this is what you're going to earn. So I'm selling you a promise. You don't know if you're going to get a child, or you don't know if that child is going to get there. Compared to banking, where you're actually selling a tangible product. If it's a credit card, here's your card. If it's your account, here's your account. So I learned a lot of people management skills. I learned a lot of how to read a lot of personalities and how to deal with different people. But the greatest thing is it exposed me to a lot of people in different industries. So I knew a lot of people, like engineers, I knew doctors. So yeah, I learned a lot.
Interesting. Yeah. And at what particular point now did you decide now to leave the corporate life and primarily everything that comes with it now to transition into now business, and primarily with your friend King Kaka? How was that particular decision, and how did you decide it's a different, you're in insurance, you're in banking, now you want to go into the music business?
So the interesting bit is when I was in Eastlands Boys, we were desk mates with King Kaka, so we went to the same high school. Yeah. And at some point, I was also a rapper, so I used to rap.
You used to rap?
Yeah.
All right, interesting. You so can still drop lines. Or the lines dropped you.
They dropped me, man. So those years, what we used to do at Eastlands Boys, used to organize what we call rap battles. And we charge guys 20 bob. So I think that's where our business sort of a way of doing things started.
So you charge people to come see you rap?
Yes. No, we organize a battle, like people contest, and then for you to enter,
you
charge you like 20 bob.
And then the winner?
The winner gets a bit of the money.
And then you guys eat the rest?
Yes, yes. Then the funniest thing was Kaka was a better rapper than I, so I used to ensure that I'm one of the judges. So I sort of influence who wins and who doesn't win.
Hapo ndo IBC. Hapo ndo IBC ilianza.
Biashara ikaanza hapo. So
the IBC chairman.
Yeah, you could say that, yeah. So they're influencing things. So we started music, I can say, in Eastlands Boys. There was a lot of influence. Eastlands Boys, by there, has brought out so many guys. You know Josiah? Josiah was at Eastlands Boys.
Even he has been here. Yes.
DJ Sadiq was at Eastlands Boys. Echo Dida was at Eastlands Boys. A lot of artists have come out from Eastlands Boys. So I think also the environment, the culture there was very artistic friendly for us. So we learned a lot. But now at some point, nikamwambia my friend, me I can't do this thing. I think let me venture into other things. So fast forward, when I went to banking and insurance, I learned a lot on how to structure companies and how to run businesses, from how I could see them doing businesses. So when I was in insurance, I think 2 years in, we started earning some revenue from Kaka himself, or rather from the brand Kaka, King Kaka. And now we formed Kaka Empire.
So primarily you used to still help him, what's it called, manage him while still working?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I used to do my 8 to 5. And the good thing with sales is, you know, a salesman, you're always in the field. Yeah. So I used to get some time to do these things. 8 to 5, Monday to Friday, weekends we do shows. We're all over the country doing shows. Monday I'm in the office with my suit and tie, selling insurance.
And then over the weekend now you're the manager?
Exactly.
All right.
So we used to jungle with him. So the learnings I got from banking and insurance is what now enabled me to create structures like Kaka Empire. So when we started making our first revenue, I knew there's something here. And if you take this thing seriously and we structure it in a proper way, we're actually going to make milk and bread from this. And that's how Kaka Empire evolved. So 3 years into insurance, I knew now this is now where I want to go. And now I started setting structures in a way where in case I'm ready to exit any time, I'll be able to concentrate fully on this, and it's going to sustain my life and both of us as people. So 4 years in, I pushed in my resignation, I left insurance, and I fully focused on Kaka Empire.
Interesting. And what did you think at what? Okay, you mentioned you stayed 4 years before. Now you can now see the real substance in the brand.
Yep.
During that particular period, how was it called? What are the key elements that you did to start seeing this revenue? Because I know sometimes being as an artist usually takes a while for some people.
Mm-hmm.
How did you start seeing this particular revenue? Was it because of the songs that were released, or what happened?
Yeah. So I'll tell you something about Kaka's brand. How we built King Kaka was this. By that time, he was called Rabbit.
I remember,
Yeah.
with the white
The
cape.
beanie, yeah.
I remember I was in high school one day and then
Uh-huh.
I'd gone for, is it Changola Tiniz?
Uh-huh.
And then he was there, I think he was introduced by Chihuahua. I remember it quite fondly. I
Yeah,
was
used
in
to be
Form 2. I
yeah.
remember.
Used to be a backup rapper for Chihuahua.
Chihuahua, I remember
Yeah,
quite well.
Yeah. So Kenyan content or music was being consumed very differently from how it is now. Then radio was everything. So if your song is played on radio, you're the biggest artist. And then how artists used to do it is they release one song for 1 year. So one song sustains you for 12 months. Unapata, for example, maybe Nameless or Nonini releases a song, and they will perform that song from January to December. But then, so there's a very small niche of artists who are earning maybe from gigs or any corporate deals that are coming through that channel. And also the consumer, the listeners who are consuming the music were very limited in terms of the music they were listening to. So what we did is we decided to create demand for our music instead of going to fight for that small piece of cake that is there. So one thing we did was we sort of had a collaboration or some sort of agreement with street DJs. But then, back then, matatus were very big. Number 9, number 4, Buruburu, 58, they were very big. And they used to fully rely on street DJs. So if you go to that street for Menti, Tomboya, a lot of DJs cropped out from there. So they used to make mixes, and then they give the mixes on CDs to matatus, and then matatus play it all day long. So what we did is we approached, I remember there was a guy, a DJ called Lex or Lexus, there was DJ Mantix, they were very big DJs. So what we were doing is we give them, for example, we had a song called Jam Nakam. We tell DJ Mantix, I want you to play this song in the beginning of your mix, in the middle of this mix, and then at the end, play it twice. So in every mix you do that. Regardless whether it's a reggae mix, whether it's a hip hop mix, a local mix, please do that.
Kwa jam.
And then the other thing is we printed stickers. So we used to put stickers on matatus. Stickers with the lines of the lyrics to the song.
Yeah.
So unapata ukiko kwa tatu, you see on the side niko kwa jam na kam or something that Kaka said. So when you see or listen to the music on the matatu, you can resonate with what is written there. So we sort of started growing a fan base. Then there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no Twitter. What people used to do, they used to call radio stations to request the songs. So the calls started coming in. And I remember that but that time Ghetto Radio was big. Or rather it has just started and guys were very excited about it. So they used to get a lot of calls of guys requesting for Jam Nakam. And that's how we became Grab It now. Jam Nakam became big. That's why you saw it at Chagola TV.
Yes, I remember.
And all that.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we created demand for music.
All right, interesting. So we're going to take a short commercial break. So say to kwa jam, but tuna come to very soon. I'll see you after the break. So welcome back to the show. We had taken a short commercial break, but we were back. But before we went on a break, Dennis was just taking us through that particular nemesis of how exactly King Kaka came to be, how exactly got his breakthrough, what are some of the tactics that he did. And so from this particular point now, King Kaka is being known. Now you've decided to make this particular transition now from just full-time job now to becoming a manager. How are the initial years in terms of now building a brand and making it sustainable? Because that's also one of the core things. What exactly do you do right to ensure that 10 years on, you can still eat from the same brand?
So how we saw things then was artists used to come and go, brands used to come and go, and they were all fully relying on gigs or rather live performances. So what we did differently and what we introduced differently at Kaka Empire was we wanted to see, apart from just me being on stage and performing as an artist, what else can I do to ensure I earn a revenue? So now what I'm telling you now is now the structure that we put in place. So one thing we needed to ensure is we need to ensure that this brand is as professional as it can be, and anyone can work with the brand. And case study, let's even talk about, let's even take King Kaka.
Yeah.
So the direction we went with King Kaka's brand was we ensured that King Kaka is a household name. I remember at the time I sat with a CEO for Bidco, and he was telling me that their aim as Bidco is to ensure that when you walk into anyone's home, there's a Bidco product in every single room that you go in. And that's now how we structured King Kaka, to make him a household name. What do I mean is, if you are in your 20s, you can listen to his music. If you're in your 50s, you can listen to his music. If you're in your 30s, you can listen to, so you can resonate with everyone. And that ensures that even if any company wants to work with you as a brand, they don't look at you as a brand or product that is only suited for a small niche of people, but you're suited for a whole following of guys. So we created structure. So apart from live gigs, we looked at now how can we get endorsements, how can we get partnerships with other corporate companies. And then number two, apart from that, now you as a person, you as a brand, so you as Ian, the artist, how are you as a person? How, in terms of your personal growth, are you growing? So what I do personally with all my brands is I ensure that as we grow your brand, also you as an individual, you grow, because music business is like, we actually compare it to a tout, a makanga. It's like a makanga. Unapewa pesa leo, unapewa pesa kesho. You use it today, use it tomorrow. So if you're not able to plan yourself very well, you won't have it in the next 1 year. So how are you as an individual? Are you able to invest, to grow, put things aside to ensure that you grow at an individual level? As you grow from just being an individual who's in your 20s to an individual in your 30s now starting a family, are you able to sustain your family with your brand? Yeah. So that's how we structure things.
And something about the music business, because you've been in it for during the era of CDs, now in the era of streaming, and so much has actually changed, but you managed to be in all these particular eras. How has it, what's it called, how have you managed to make this transition? Because initially, you used to sell CDs, now in the era of streaming. And how, first of all, how do you compare both these two eras in terms of the digital era and the physical era? And how is money being made now, apart from shows, which is actually the main medium in which artists make money?
Revenue-wise, we are earning more money right now compared to...
So you earn more through streaming than you used to do through CDs?
There was no streaming there back
then. Yeah, but you used to sell CDs physically.
Yeah, but you can't track, you don't, it's just, it was complicated. You have to rely on third parties, or third parties are hustlers like you, they don't have structures in place. But right now with streaming and the digital sort of creation of things have become, you can get data anytime you want. You can know who's listening to me at what time, where, in which city, and all that. So it's really good. And then it has created a platform where everyone can access your music, which again, of course, revenue also is distributed among so many people across the world. Yeah.
And how is money made? Because I know that's the biggest, here I follow a lot of conversations whereby you can have 1 million streams but earn peanuts. I don't know, from you, because you've sat in the back end, how is streaming money made? Maybe how much can you make for maybe 1 million streams? Because I know that's always another big conversation. People say like, yeah, I can have a lot of streams but I don't have money. I think also the Snoop Dogg conversation the other day where they were saying like he has 1 billion streams but the money that comes with it does not match that.
Yeah, so streaming is, for artists, streaming should not be your only revenue earner. If you fully rely on streaming, then it's a very big stake you're doing. You should look at other revenues other ways of running your revenue. Yes, it is true, streaming gives you a small percentage of what you earn. So you'll hear someone says, I got 1 million views on YouTube, I only earn 10,000.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so it varies. It varies. There are so many things they look at, and they give you a percentage of that because they're also in business, so they also need to earn. the sense of the whole essence of having now streaming platforms and platforms where guys can access your content digitally is to ensure that your content is exposed to a larger mass of people compared to now the selected few that you can go to every single day. Yeah. So streaming, yes, is there, but you should look at endorsements. You should look at performances. These days, artists are also doing influencing. You should look at merchandising. There are several ways you can earn a revenue. Yeah.
Also, the whole key to is just expanding your revenue streams.
Exactly, exactly.
You've built quite a number of brands. I think we were just going through the list earlier on before we started this recording. Pumwani, King Kaka, Avril, just to mention but a few.
Yep.
With all these particular brands and from your experience, what does it take for an artist to build a brand that's commercially viable? We can take a case study out of all these particular brands. Let's say Aroboy, you started out with him from scratch.
Yep.
What was the process towards making him commercially viable?
So how we discovered Aroboy was through his previous song he had done, a release. So, but let me change the conversation a bit. So, there are several things that an artist needs to have for you to be commercially viable, or rather for you to be a big brand. Let me put it that way. So, one, you need to have talent. So, talent is key. So, like me, I couldn't rap, so I said leave it out. So that kept me out.
Yeah.
Number two, you have to be very disciplined as an artist and as an individual. So how do you do your work? Are you able to get to studio on time? Are you able to record things on time? Household rules. Number three, you also have to be very hardworking and consistent in what you do. So I interact with a lot of artists every single day. They are in my inbox, they're in my DMs, asking me questions. And what you could see is at some point within the journey, they sort of lose interest or rather lose faith in the journey that they're going through. So you need to be very persistent and consistent in what you do. Then number four, Manze, you need to have God. Music is hard. Even in business, business is hard. So you need to have God with you. So there are stages an artist goes through. One, we call it the discovery stage. You've done a hit song, it's big. Then you can become a big artist by that. But now, those artists, it is very hard for them to sustain their brand long term. You need to be very, very particular in what you do and careful in what you do to ensure that your brand lasts long term. And I can give you a million examples of artists. Even if you look at the previous genre, Gengeton, a lot of artists came up. A lot of them.
Yeah.
They became big songs. They were doing very many shows across Kenya. But right now, they're nowhere to be seen because they did not realize is that was not, they were not there yet. Although it seemed they were there, it meant that they needed to start working. Number two is what we call luck. Or you can say God. Now, God ensures that you are able to sustain your brand. So the artists too, by just luck, they sort of blend in with people and become big. But then we also have the other category of artists who need to work hard. They have to work hard every single day, and if they sleep a day, we forgot about them. So as an artist, you need to know where you are. But it doesn't mean that if you have a hit song or you have that luck that you've got an endorsement or two here, or you've worked hard and you're where you are today, it doesn't mean that you stop working. It has to be a continuous process to the end.
And so you've had your luck, you've had your hit song, you're now there. Another question is in terms of now determining your worth. So as an artist, maybe as a manager, how do you determine an artist's worth? Maybe, let's say for an influencer gig or maybe for events, how do you determine an artist's worth?
So there are different things. We look at your target audience or people who consume your music. We look at their age, we look at their location. We also look at the genre of music that you do. For example, you cannot value an artist who does jazz the same way you value an artist who does gengeton. The other thing is you look at your following. I may have 1 million following.
But people can buy followings.
Yeah, but there are, you can know.
You can know, but you can always know. Yeah.
Yes. You may have 1 million following. I have 250, so of course I can't charge the same way I charge or value my rate cards. The other thing is also influence. Influence is big. People don't know this, but the artist, I'll give an example like Juakali. Juakali has a lot of influence. Although you won't see him maybe in your top 10 hit songs today, you won't see him, but he has a lot of influence. If he goes to a show in Eldoret, people will come and people are going to sing a line by line of the songs. So he has a lot of influence. Same with Kaka, same with Kali. They have a lot of influence, but you won't have them getting you hit songs every single day. And then also the other thing is, apart from you just being an artist, what other things are you doing? The artists who are activists, the artists who are health champions, the artists who do other things apart from just the music. So all those things vary in terms of how you value your art. Yeah.
And then there's also this other debate in terms of being, what's it called? Being signed to a label and also being independent. You've dealt with artists on both particular ends. How do you compare both of them? And especially in this particular modern day and age, does it make sense to be part of a label? And also another question, sorry, I'm putting so many questions, I'm very curious. And what does it also take to be part of a label?
Okay. So for your first question, so the essence of having a label behind your brand is basically having a team that does the work for you when you're not there, compared to you doing it yourself. If you're an artist who's not signed, you do everything. You're the manager, you're the DJ, you're the producer, you're the accountant, you're the PR, so you sort of do all those things. But the privilege you get when you are in a label is you get all these things served to you. So you get someone who works on your media liaison. For example, when you spoke to me, you spoke to Kadhambi. Yeah. Kadhambi is our head of PR and marketing communication. You have someone who does social media. So you have a social media person called Sharon who does that. We have a road manager who takes you for gigs and ensure that when you get to a gig, everything is in place. We have a guy called Brian. Then you have now an accountant, you have a creative manager, so the essence of being in a label is you have people who fight for you when you're not there. Rather, people who give you the assistance that you require and keep that wheel rolling when you're not there. Now, in Kenya, the way labels are, you can't compare them with how labels are maybe in Nigeria or in the US, in the Western countries, because we've sort of not formed structures. And the majority of the labels you see in Kenya, and I'm not being biased in any way, is they're not labels, they're studios. But they call themselves labels. Yes. And what they do is they'll tell you is we'll give you the recording session for free, or rather you'll pay half of this amount, then we'll keep the other half in terms of percentage to your master or your song ownership. So those are studios. But a label should offer these things that I've talked about. They should offer all those things. So advantage of being in a label is you don't have to worry where you'll be tomorrow, because there are people who are behind you and pushing your brand. If you're an individual, now those are the things you have to worry. Like when we started with King Kaka or Rabbit, we used to worry every day, where are we going to get our next gig? Who's going to call this number? Who's going to follow up with this client? But for a label now, you have people doing that for you.
And also another subject in terms of now music is the element of the split sheet. I always hear it a lot. When you're doing music, there's a split sheet. What does a split sheet entail, and why exactly is it important for artists also just to embrace the element of split sheets?
So a split sheet is more or less like a legal document highlighting who owns what in that asset, being the music. So who owns the producing rights, who owns the master rights, who owns the performing rights.
So what's the producing rights?
So the producer, of course, owns the
So the producer is the one who owns the producing rights. The master rights?
The master rights you could own as an artist, or if maybe the producer sort of gave you a discount on the producing fee or something like that, they could own part of it. Labels normally own full master rights, or they also own part of the master rights.
What's the difference between a master and the producing rights?
Master rights are ownership of the actual song.
So, the actual song that goes out, that's the master?
Yes. So how you own the master rights is who is the executive, like movies. You've seen executive producers. So a real producer basically means I funded, I ensured that this project started and ended fully without any challenges. So now that's how labels work. So if, for example, if you go to Sony or all the labels there, they own fully your master rights. They'll come and tell you, I'm giving you an advance of $1 million shillings. This is just for you. Yes. And then I want you to do an album, a 12-track album, and I'm going to fund it fully, and I'm going to put money in marketing, money in publishing, money in PR, money, all those. But I own fully the master rights for a certain time. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And in terms of a split sheet, so as an artist, what's usually now the splitting? How do you split it, and how do you know how much it is that you're supposed to get out of it? Is it through the streaming, or is it through the events? How does it work?
So it's across everything. It's just how you start the project with. So there's the producer, there's the artist who actually performed, recorded.
Yes.
Then there's a performer. So the artist could be different from the performer. And then there's also, these days, also writers. So writers also have a share.
There's a share.
Yes, of the split.
And how do you track it? Because it's the artist who will perform it, who will upload it on the platform. How do you track it? Maybe I wrote this song, or I produced this song. How will I know how much I earn out of it?
So what we normally tell guys is ensure that you're a member of publishing companies and all those, so that they give you a special number. So when I'm uploading my song on the digital streaming platforms, they'll ask me, are you the main artist? Are you the performer? Are you a writer? So I'm able to put all those details down. I'm also able to put the percentage you've agreed on. Yeah, so there's no standard percentage. It's just how you agree with that person.
Interesting. And something quite interesting that I checked out is that now you're literally diversifying now into, I saw Kaka films, and the other day, congratulations on the monkey business.
Thank you.
What exactly informed this particular transition?
So, with music is purely storytelling. If you listen to any song, they are telling a story or telling you about something that has happened in their lives. So we've heavily, if you look at our videos, we've heavily invested in storytelling. So we saw there's an opportunity in film, and that's why we went into film, because we feel, one, it correlates or go hand in hand with music. And since we've already established and done music the right way, and things are good that end, that we can venture into now turning the music into movies and stories. Our first release was Kamtupe. It's now on YouTube.
I saw it. I actually saw it. Interesting.
And if you look at the concept to use a Kamtupe, is we've merged film and music. So you'll see a certain scene at some point. There's a performance of a song. So same way. Monkey business is a bit different. There's no mix of music and performance of music and film, but we've blended a lot of music within the whole series. It's actually a 4-episode series.
When is it coming out? Or how was it called? Where can you watch? Our person I could not attend the launch, but when exactly is it coming out? Where can we buy it? Where can we watch it?
Soon it's going to be available to the public. What we did was sort of a screening for people who are interested, and especially people in the film.
And also just
sector.
one episode.
Yes. We actually showed the 4th episode, the last episode of the series. So mtaanza 1 kienda 4. But soon it will be available to everyone. We're going to announce.
Interesting. And also another interesting thing about you is that you're in philanthropy. And I saw quite a number of things that you're actually working, or rather you're involved in. Why is philanthropy important to you?
I think growing up as an orphan, we used to get a lot of handouts from NGOs, from people. So I know what especially young kids go through when they don't have anyone to feed them, look for food for them. As I told you my story, I started working when I was 15, so I know. And how I do the philanthropy bit is I have structured each and every brand that we have at Kaka Empire, especially the big brands, to be able to give back to the community. For example, Kaka has the sanitary bank campaign. So far, he has given sanitary towels to more than 50,000 girls across the country. It's gone to about 7 counties across. For Femi One, she has a foundation called the One for One Foundation. It's doing the same thing. Apart from distributing sanitary towels, she also does food distribution and mentorship for young girls. Kaka Empire, we've been running a program called Dreams Campaign from very many years ago when we were in high school. And what we do is visit kids in privileged societies and homes and all that, and we feed them. So it's a big part, not only for me as Dennis, but Kaka Empire as a label, because we all grew. Kaka grew in Shaurimoyo, Kololeni. Femi grew in Wiki. We didn't come from Runda or Karen, So we know what people in these areas go through. That's why we're giving back.
Looking back at your journey, because you've experienced the lowest of low, you've experienced the highs of highs. What are some of the key lessons that you can actually say you carry out of life? because you lost your parents by 15, you had to become a parent at 15. You've lost it and you've tried to rebuild it and you've experienced the higher side. When you just look back at your life, just looking back, what are exactly some of the lessons that you can say you can recount and are very, very pivotal for any person watching this and maybe aspiring to be where you are, can actually learn from?
One is there's always time for everything and everyone has their own time. It doesn't mean that because I am doing well today and you seem like I have everything going on, right? Yeah. That your time is not there. So your time will always come, and what is yours is yours. I believe I'm a Christian, so I believe in God. I believe God normally knows the right time to bring things forth. Number two, what I've learned is about 3 years ago, I weighed, I was like 95 kgs. I was very big. So,
you're fat.
You saw me, I was fat.
I
was fat, man.
You're plus size.
I was plus size. Yeah, that's true. I used to be very big. And I came from 95 to about 65 within a year.
How did you do?
I started exercising.
Uko na liposuction?
Hapana. Nikaanza kukula vizuri. I don't take sugar at all. Not sugar at all. I take a lot of proteins and very kidogo carbs in my meals. So I changed my lifestyle. So my point is, during that process is I learned what consistency is. So during my journey in life, consistency has been one key thing that I've always put in place. During my sales time stint, doing sales and selling banking stuff and selling insurance, consistency is everything. And even in your normal life, whether in regards of what you want to achieve, whether you are a host talks to host, whether you are an artist, whether you are a footballer or anything, if you're consistent in everything you do, you are destined for greatness. There's nothing that will stop you. Then lastly, there's a big power in the power of a positive mind and attitude. So if you don't have that, my friend, you're not going anywhere. So you always, I was listening to someone who was saying, I'm a very big fan of podcast. I listen to Vusi. You know Vusi? Yeah, a very big fan. So what he talks about is, if you perceive when you see yourself as a CEO, start behaving like one. If you want to buy a car and when you walk every day to work, start behaving like you have a car. So yeah, the power of a positive mind.
Interesting. So before you end, I have like 10 quick questions, quick fire questions. So answer the first thing that comes to your mind. What's the greatest risk you've ever taken?
Quitting employment to get into business.
Which is your favorite word?
My favorite word? Pass. I don't remember.
Sikamtupe. Describe your style in one word.
Professional.
What is one of your nicknames?
I have one nickname. People call me Kamlesh.
Sipatni.
Sipatni.
What is your hidden talent?
I write a lot. I have a blog. I write a lot. Even if you look at my social media pages, you'll notice.
Money or happiness?
Happiness, man.
Are you more of an introvert or an extrovert?
Introvert.
Are you more of a thinker or a doer?
Thinker.
What's your go-to snack?
Meat, any type of meat, but fish. Best.
So that's why you do your meeting?
Yes.
What scares you?
Nothing, man.
At what age do you want to retire?
I was to retire at 35, but now I'm 2 years late, so I'm 40.
What's been your best age?
30.
Who inspires you?
Who inspires me? Myself.
And the final question, freedom or money?
Freedom.
Interesting. Wow, quite an interesting conversation with Dennis Njenga, who's the managing partner for Kaka Empire, the label, and also now the films. Quite an interesting conversation. Hope you've learned a thing or two about the music business. Looking forward to their new film that's coming out. It's called Monkey Business, and also some of the projects that they're doing and some of the brands that he's actually heading. That's Femi One, King Kaka, and quite a number. He's told me there's one coming up on the line, right?
Yep.
So thank you so much for having watched the show. Hope you've learned a thing or two from this particular conversation. As always, my name is Ian Dennis, coming to you live from the Capital Club, the place you need to be as an entrepreneur, because at the Capital Club there's numerous amenities. Where we're actually filming this is actually one of the meeting rooms. There's a spa, there's a gym, there are This is a restaurant. Literally, you can literally spend your full day here and also entertain your clients here. And also, of course, you can check out one of my new books, Food for Thought. It's actually out at Textbook Center, all the stores across Nairobi, as well as Nuria stores online. My name is Ian Dennis, and this has been the Late Night Business. See you next time right here on KTN.